What's going on? Now, some of you Eagle Eye viewers might have noticed I've changed the background a little bit, and that's because anyone who becomes a channel member or a member of the Patreon by the end of this month is going to get the name on my back wall. Now, you might be thinking, but Jonny, you shoot all of your videos in f1.2. How on earth am I going to see that font all the way back there? First of all, shut up. No one likes to know it all. And second, I've got a new wide-angle lens coming for my camera, so that will resolve all of those issues. Except I would, if the whole UK postal service wasn't striking right now. Yeah, thanks, guys. No better way to stick it to your employer than screwing the general public over. I'm only messing, of course. You strike all you want, but for real, guys, just post my stuff, man. Now, no doubt you've seen, read, or heard reviews for Rings of Power. But now it's time to review those reviews. Now, I've spent basically the last 2 days consuming these at times tedious reviews. And if I had to sum it all up, the main points would be visuals are good, but also visuals bad. Bad acting, bad pacing, Galadriel bad, Galadriel bad, Galadriel annoying, Galadriel Olympic swimmer? Question mark? Yeah, I think that's about it, really. Oh, actually, I did drop in on the Critical Drinkers last stream and asked him about it.
Next one is Johnny Law, who says, overall pretty good then. It's fantastic, mate. Best 2 hours of my life. Haven't had this much fun since my last exorcism.
Now, a point that seems to come up a lot in these reviews is how cinematic it is and how it's made for the big screen, which is, that's super useful considering it's a TV show. I don't care if it looks good on IMAX. Everything looks good on IMAX. I saw a Penguin documentary in 2003 that looked great on IMAX. I don't give a damn. Make it look good on my television. And also, I'd consider the Peter Jackson trilogy pretty cinematic. Don't know about you. And I remember I watched that on one of them old ass TVs with the VHS player built in. This thing was huge. And I'm not talking the screen size. I'm talking footprint. This was like 2 square miles, and they only managed to fit like a 10-inch screen to it. To be fair, I'm not exactly the poster child for cinema excursions. To be honest, I always prefer watching films at home on my TV. I mean, it's a decent TV. It's got 4K. I don't have to take out a mortgage to buy snacks. I mean, £5 for Skittles. Oh, but it's okay because they took them out of that little Skittles bag you get in all the shops and they put them in a nice little cardboard box for me. Gee, thanks, View. Good job you quintupled the price for me. Oh, but Johnny, cinemas have incredibly comprehensive sound systems. Yeah. Do you know what? I'm actually kind of sick of going to the cinema and getting Hans Zimmered every goddamn time I go. Bwah! Every time something happens, bwah! Character says something, bwah! Did any of you go to see June in the cinema? Bwah! I mean, what a great film, but I had to get retinal reattachment surgery. Bwah! My patellas were on the wrong sides of my legs, thanks to all of Hans Zimmer's bwahs. Now, don't get me wrong, he's responsible for classics such as Pirates of the Caribbean, but I'm convinced when these studios approach him and they're like, please, Hans, write us one of your melodies, and he sits there in his multi-million-pound studio, he looks around, there's no walls, they're all just modular synthesizers everywhere. He's got the Allen and Heath stood by the mixing desk, and they're only there just to tweak the faders when he wants them to. But they're all caked in dust because he never uses them anymore, and he just looks towards the center of his studio, and there is one big great button with blah written on it, and he just sits there and he begins to mash this button, just blah, and everyone's like, oh, what a visionary! Thank you, Hans! Thank you for allowing me to wear hearing aids 40 years too early! And don't get me started on that Pearl and Dean advert they used to show when I was a kid. Do they still show that? I don't even know. But that is literally the soundtrack to anxiety. Sorry about that, just got a little bit sidetracked there. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, Rings of Power. Another point people seem to be bringing up a lot is Galadriel. And I mean, that's fitting, obviously she is sort of, or at least she's been framed as sort of like the center of this story. She's been called everything, essentially. The enjoyers have been calling her, they've been whipping out, of course, the usual go-to adjectives, the bold and stunning, brave and controversial. Love Galadriel the fighter. She is valiant, flawed and haughty, as bloody-minded as she is brilliant, scarred by the horrors of war, and if that doesn't sound like much fun, wait till you see what she does to a snow troll. Yes, everyone's seen the trailer. We've all seen her doing a little Dark Souls rolls. She's Yeah, she's a veritable Lord of Cinder. As for the new crop of Middle-earth inhabitants, though Kate Blanchett is hard to top, Clark makes for a convincing prior incarnation. Clear-eyed and battle-ready no matter who implores her to cool off. Not listening to anyone. That sounds like a likable trait. And then, of course, there are slightly more critical reports of Galadriel, calling her everything from boring to unlikable. What do I think of Galadriel? Well, that's none your business. See what I did there? Sorry. But for real, I will be going into what I think about Galadriel in my upcoming review of episode 1 and 2, which should be out very soon. Yes, this review particularly caught my attention when I was reading it. It simply says, The Lord of the Rings of Power review. So astounding, it makes House of the Dragon look amateur. I don't think you can really call House of the Dragon amateur in any way, really. I mean, sure, there's a little bit of a questionable CGI here and there, but I think amateur's a bit harsh. And let's not forget, Rings of Power did spend twice as much as House of the Dragon. And is it going to be twice as good? Yeah, of course it is. Now, Rebecca, who kindly wrote this article, seems to have a little bit of a chip on her shoulder. Maybe a little bit of disdain towards House of the Dragon. To call it amateur, like I say, I think that's a bit harsh. So I was interested. Has she also reviewed House of the Dragon? And would you believe? Yes, she has. And here it is. House of the Dragon review. This Game of Thrones prequel is gorgeous and opulent television. Well, is it amateur looking or is it gorgeous opulent television? Because I'm a little confused. Now you might say, but Jonny, she watched Rings of Power after House of the Dragon, and it was at this point she realised how beautiful and bold Rings of Power was and how trash and amateur-looking House of the Dragon was. Yeah, but the only thing is, she's given them both the same score. They're both 4 stars. She gave them both the same scores. Huh? Now, a word you will have heard thrown about in a lot of the written reviews and also the video reviews on YouTube is the word promising. Now, don't get it twisted for a moment. Don't think for a second that promising is a positive adjective, because it's not. Promising is not something you call something that is amazing. Promising means it could be good, but right now, if you were going in for some minor surgery, nothing life or death, but, you leant over to the surgeon and you said, look, doc, what are the risks? What are my chances of actually dying during this procedure? And he was like, it's promising. Dare I say, you might reconsider? What have we got here? A tweet. I've seen hashtag Rings of Power, and I can say for certain you're in for a big treat. Big, bold, and beautiful to behold. What a time to be a wine mum. What a time to be alive. Rings of Power is a cinematic experience. In a perfect world, we would watch it on a big screen. Except it's a goddamn television show. Why would you... It's literally in the name. Why would you watch it at the cinema? Sorry. It's pure Tolkien. Oh, okay, that's enough. The fact he's said it's pure Tolkien and shared it with the picture of Warrior Galadriel is just... I'm fine with it. I watched the first 2 episodes of Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, and it's grand, bold, and ambitious. I absolutely loved it. Oh, for God's sake. I mean, I said it as a joke, but what a great time to be a wine mom. Everything is big, beautiful, bold, controversial, and brave. People are loving Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. Fans and critics alike have seen the first 2 episodes of the Prime Video series, and the reactions are very positive. Very positive. Oh, guys, I completely forgot. I'm crazy. I'm insane. That's it. No, I'm sorry. I've misplaced every single last one of my marbles, and I am certified insane. I am completely bonkers. Oh, never mind. I'm fine. Now, that last article had this photo attached to it. I've been looking at it, and I've just realized, do you think that the show writers were just trolling them at this point? That they were just like, you know how Tolkien said that hobbits did nothing of note in the Second Age? There's no real information there. Should we just tell him to do stuff and see if they do it? And then he's like, yeah, cover them in mud, just cake them in shit, make them look like just really dirty. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, give him terrible hair too. That'd be really funny. We're like, oh, just give him like crazy, stupid hair. Oh, yeah, that's oh yeah. Tell him that each different half foot has to have a different shrub for a fringe. Wouldn't that be funny? That'd be really funny, right? Like, come on. It's just what is this? Why have they got a salad in their head? And of course, a shout out to my patrons: Steve the Goat, Abe Froman, Sammy Moraine, Brennis, Damon Spike, and Chloe Bond. You guys have chosen to help me behind the scenes, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate that, guys. Thank you. And that's it for this video. I really appreciate you sticking with me for this long. Don't forget, you can become a channel member now, and you can also join me on Patreon. Link down in the description. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I hope I can see you in the next video, but until then, take care of yourselves. See ya.